Greetings. Today, it's my pleasure to share with you some of the best practices in selecting your perfect research topic. I'm Dr. Teri Platt. I am an associate professor in the Department of Public Administration and the director of the Isabella T. Jenkins Honors Program. Before we get started, I think it's important to identify some key pointers for topic selection. Particularly for a research project, a class project, or any type of research-based activity. I think it's first important that you choose a topic that you're interested in. The worst thing is to do research or to dedicate time and energy on a topic that you're not interested in. So choose a topic that's fascinating to you, that's relevant to the things you care about, and then it makes the research process go a lot more smoothly. Next, I would encourage you to narrow your topic to something that is manageable. Often, we select really large topics or themes, but it's important to make sure your topic is researchable as well as manageable. And so having something that's a little bit smaller, a little more narrow in scope can assist with that process. If your information or your topic is too broad, you may find that you're not able to focus. There might be too much information, and you find yourself unable to fully complete your research project with care and with quality. One of the ways that you can narrow your topic is to explore some background topics, some background research. So we're going to talk about in this discussion the value of utilizing the library, utilizing the literature in order to select your topic, refine your topic, and to understand how what you're trying to explore fits within the larger scope of knowledge and information. The other thing I think is important is to make sure that your research topic aligns with the guidance and the guidelines you've received from your instructor. There may be some very specific instructions associated with your assignment. Start there in terms of making sure that before you really get going on your research project, that you're within the guidelines and within the guidance of expectations set forth by your research mentor, your course instructor, or even if you're engaging in research for a research conference, making sure that you're within those guidelines. So making sure that you first consult with your instructions before you get going. The next thing I'll say is refer to your lecture notes. There may be some hidden gems in there in terms of selecting topics. Some information that's been shared in the course that resonated with you, that you find interesting. There may be some information in your required text that you were assigned to read or that you have in your possession that may help you to align your topic to the area of focus for the course or the topic specification that's been identified for the research activity, whether it's for an out-of-class research project or a conference presentation. And so these pointers, I think, are excellent resources. We're going to dig a little bit deeper in them, into them as we proceed with the presentation. But I thought it was nice to have it all in one place as a point of reference. So when we think about reviewing your guidance or your assignment, how many pages are being required of you? That may make a difference in terms of how many sources you might need to have. which also matters in terms of the type of sources that are required. Are you engaging in a review of journal articles or scholarly research? Are you exploring archives and other types of records? Are you evaluating films, recordings? So that makes a difference as well in terms of how you're selecting your topic and how you're organizing your thoughts about engaging in the research activity. But also you should consider what is the purpose of your research project? Should you focus on a particular subject or a discipline? If the topic or the research project is tied with a course, there may be some specific information that needs to be covered in your research project. Or if you're engaging in research with a faculty research mentor, then there may be a specific discipline within which you need to direct your investigation. So all of this can make a difference in your topic selection and how you go about refining your process for selecting a topic. So now we get to the process of narrowing your interests and identifying your interests for research. And I always say, select a topic that's interesting to you. You're going to spend a significant amount of time and energy engaging in your investigation. So you want it to be something that you find fascinating, that you find interesting, but is also relevant to your purpose. So what do you want to learn about? It might be that you want to enhance your knowledge. You want to grow your understanding of the physical world, the biological world, the psychological, or even the social world. So thinking about where can you go? Where can you go to expand your understanding? And you may know a whole lot about a lot of different things, but the reality is there's so much more that we can know through the research process. So thinking about how can you grow your knowledge or the knowledge of your reader or your research reviewer. The next thing is to think about topics that could shed light on a historical reality, a cultural phenomena, even an aesthetic phenomena. And so thinking about maybe not enhancing your understanding, but enhancing the understanding of others through your research activity. So again, depending on your instructions that you've received or the purpose of your research, that can drive the topic that you select and how you develop that topic for your research endeavor. The next thing I'll say is think about, think carefully about the sources, the types of sources that may be required. Often researchers will publish their research findings for others to learn from and to build upon. And that research has been reviewed by other scholars and experts in that field. We consider that research to be the gold standard of research activity. And we call that peer-reviewed sources. And so you might be required to utilize peer-reviewed sources as a part of your research activities. And so if that's the case, then you want to be careful because it takes time for research projects to be published and then to be available. And so there might be a little bit of a lag in timing. So if you pick something that's too recent to explore as a topic, something that's very contemporary and happening right now, you might have difficulty finding peer-reviewed research specifically on that contemporary issue. Now, I will say that some journals have become very quick in how they're able to turn around research and make it available. And so they may make online access available to readers before they make a printed version available for libraries to have in their repositories. And so it may be possible to get some research, have access to some recent peer-reviewed research, but you may want to be mindful of the time frame and even the locale. Sometimes the location may not have been widely studied. And so you may have difficulty finding peer-reviewed sources specifically on a narrow location. But if you broaden your scope of location, you may be able to find more research in those areas. But when we begin to think of some of the broader concepts and broader themes and theories and theoretical frameworks or ways of understanding different concepts and topics, peer-reviewed studies can be a great starting place for developing your ideas, understanding how others have thought about the relationships and the connections between concepts and even variables, which might be critical or an expectation of inclusion for your research project. And so I would encourage you to take time to engage in careful thought, deep thought about what sources, and so that you can be prepared to explore and utilize those sources as you're developing your background, your statement about your topic, and engaging in your overall analysis of your topic, which will come later. So we think about strategies. Okay, so one of the strategies I think that can be very successful for students and for any researcher who is trying to narrow your topic or focus your topic is to think about the 4 W's: who, what, when, and where. I know, seems pretty basic, but used smartly and used well, they can help narrow your focus. So let's look at how that happens. So an example, let's talk about an example. One, let's look at the idea or the concept of homelessness. Let's say that that's a topic that you're interested in, but you don't know how to begin to turn that into a research project for yourself. And so, or how you can develop it as a more well-rounded topic for investigation. And so if we were to use the 4 W's, we may see some strategies or some opportunities to become a little more specific about how we're going to engage in our investigation. And we may be able to narrow our focus so that the topic isn't so broad that we're overwhelmed with just the sheer volume of data and the sheer volume of information that we may uncover. So, okay, so let's look at the topic of homelessness. If we think about who, in this example, let's say we want to focus on women, and we think about what, we're still sticking with the idea of homelessness, so we want to look at evictions, which may be a cause for homelessness, or a factor contributing to homelessness. Think about where, Georgia. You may choose another state or another location, but for this example, we're going to use Georgia. And then we think about when. Let's say the last 10 years. It might be that you choose the last 5 years or the last 20 years. It could also be that when you're selecting your when, is it in the time frame that you're want to focus your analysis or your investigation as it relates to your topic selection, that you may start with a key date that may have been covered in the class or from the literature that you've been assigned to read as a required text. And it may speak to a particular piece of legislation. And so based on that date of that legislation, you might want to use that as a starting point for your time frame of when. And so so these are just some ways of or some strategies of how we can use who, what, where, and when to narrow down a topic from homelessness to a group, a place, a cause, a time frame for investigation. It doesn't necessarily mean that you need to use all 4 at all times. It might be that you want to focus on only one of the W's instead of all 4 of the W's. But either way, it can help you target your focus so that you can find the perfect topic for your research. And I would say one of the ways you can find out or you can explore your topic to see if it's researchable and if it's a good fit for investigation, take it to the library. So in the Atlanta University Center, we have a shared resource through the Robert W. Woodruff Library. You can go in person or you can access it online. I have a screen capture of the first page that you would access if you were to type in www.auctr.edu. So you would come to a search bar. First thing you'd see. You may wonder, where do you go from there? Well, I would recommend that you select databases, and the databases will give you access to wide collections of scholarly works, wide collections of research resources that can help you to focus your interest and direct your inquiry about your topic to make sure that it is a fit for you. And so one place where you can start is to type in JSTOR, JSTOR. JSTOR is a repository of a number of journals and online books that are accessible to students who have access through the Robert W. Woodruff Library. And so if you have an account with them, which all enrolled students at the member institutions should have, you should have access to JSTOR. And so type in JSTOR, JSTOR, into the search bar, and then making sure that you have clicked databases, and you will be taken to an opportunity to log in and then to go into JSTOR, where you can explore your key terms that we identified in the previous slide of who, what, when, and where around the topic of homelessness. And so using our example. And so after you log in using your credentials, you would have an opportunity to type in your key search terms into the search bar and see what kind of literature comes up, what kind of scholarly works. One of the things I wanted to highlight is that there is an opportunity to not just use the search bar for the keywords, but you can also focus that when. Remember, we were talking about you might want to focus on literature or research that's tied to a key date of investigation. That date may be tied to legislation. It may be tied to some key information in course material. And so you have an opportunity on the left side in JSTOR to indicate the date that you want to start the collection of data, a collection of resources. And you also have an opportunity to identify the primary sources that are used in the collection effort. And in this instance, I selected journals because we're interested in scholarly journal articles, which may be a little more timely and relevant than some textbooks or some books that may also be available. And we also have our dates. We see here that we have our key terms of women and evictions in Georgia. So all of our who, what, when, and where. What you'll see is that we were able to narrow the literature to 112 results. Now, truth of the matter is not all of these results may be relevant for our investigation. It might be that the journal article maybe provide a historical analysis, but was published after 2010 or after 2014. And so that's something to consider. So you can't just go off of the results. You also need to take a moment to review your results to make sure they're relevant for your analysis and relevant for your understanding of your topic. And so I think it's just a really good exercise to get you to think about different ways of focusing your topic so you can find that perfect topic, so that you aren't stuck with just a term or a key word, one word, but that you may have multiple ways of investigating that topic in ways that are relevant for the purpose of your investigation. And again, there's no need to do all four. And so you might choose one or two. The point or the goal is to have a starting point for your investigation, a starting point for your selection of a topic. And I think it's interesting that we have those 112, but again, not all those results were useful. we may end up finding 4 or 5 sources, journal articles that are relevant for our purposes, given what the trajectory that we want to go in, and we would review them. The great thing about JSTOR is that you can have access to the full article. And so you can read the abstract to gain an understanding of, is this something that aligns with my interests or my goals of my research project? They may also have additional keywords that can be beneficial for you as you're starting to refine your search around your topic to make sure that you have a researchable topic for your research purposes. And then also you can look at the article to see how they identified those key terms, how they defined the problem, how they engaged in analysis, any conclusions that they reached, the methodological approach, any next steps or future research activities they may be proposing for other scholars to undertake. And so it might be really useful to go back and look at the literature relevant to your topic, because there may be some breadcrumbs hidden in there that can help lead you to your perfect topic. So, but the reality also is that even though we found 112 results in our search, it could be that after reviewing all 112, none of them really matched up with your interests. They may be some good resources, but it didn't match up with your interests. It didn't lead you to your perfect topic. So it may be necessary to try broader concepts or broaden that, or to take what we've defined initially and expand it. Expand the population, expand the geographical range, or maybe even expand the time frame. And so one way that we can do that, based on our example that we worked with previously, if we take the who of women when we're thinking about homelessness, we may open it up to all individuals, or we might look at gender as a category for the who. But if we open it up to all individuals, that may provide more opportunities for us to find the right kind of data, the right kind of information, the right kind of resources to support our inquiry. And instead of looking at evictions, we may want to look at all displacement or all factors that contribute to displacement and homelessness. And so while, yes, homelessness may be a broad category, we may still want to use that as a part of our what, and pairing it with our who in order to broaden the category of literature that we may find that may give us more breadcrumbs to get to that perfect topic. And so, we may look at all causes of displacement, not necessarily evictions. It could be natural disaster, right? It could be zoning changes that the city or the state or the county decides to use the land in a different way. And so they're encouraging, or they have provided incentives, whether forcefully or voluntarily, for individuals to move from their resident, from their domicile. And so that may be a cause of displacement. And so taken all together, that may give us move us in that right direction to find find that good fit for our research. And then instead of looking at Georgia, we may want to look at the entire United States. There might be that, or it might be that we want to look at a region or a cluster of states together, Southeastern region, the New England region, and so the Midwest. And so, but it's up to you to open it up a little bit more so that you include a broader geographical range for analysis or for investigation. There may be some interesting things that have happened. Let's say if you're looking at weather as being, or natural disasters as being a cause, Florida, Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama all have coasts. And so it might be interesting to see how hurricanes may have contributed to displacement for individuals. And so that may be a better alignment for how you're thinking about exploring homelessness, right? And so I think it's interesting how when you open it up and look at the literature and open it up a little bit more, you might end up finding a better pathway for you to travel in order to get to that topic for investigation. You may choose to keep the same time frame, or you may choose not to identify any time frame. It's up to you. Remember, you're the driver of this bus to a certain extent, within the bounds of the guidance that you've received from your instructor, your research mentor, or some other entity that may be providing some information to you about how to engage in your research activity. So I say it's important to be flexible because research is a process. You might need to go through the 4 W's, 2 or 3, 4 different times, because as you move in the right direction, it might still be too broad. And so you might need to narrow it down and focus it a little bit more as you get closer to your desired destination with your topic. So understanding that it's a process, and as your thoughts evolve and as you begin to explore the available literature, the available data, as you talk to your research mentor, as you get feedback from your instructor, you begin to refine even more your topic. And that's okay. Make sure that you give yourself time to engage in this process so that you can stay true to your interests as you explore some interesting concepts, topics, and themes for your research project. Just understanding research is a process. It might also be that you decide to look at another database other than JSTOR. There are other databases. And so while you're in the Robert W. Woodruff website, you might choose to look at public health or health policy in terms of social determinants of health. And you explore PubMed as a resource, which will take you to a different literature or a different perspective that may be beneficial for your research process. And so, again, it may help refine your topic in ways that resonate with you and resonate with your interests. And so I strongly encourage you to let the literature be your guide, to help give you those breadcrumbs in terms of looking at potential concept relationships or variable relationships. It might be that researchers have thought about the topic in an interesting way or a new way, using a theoretical framework to help provide a lens for understanding that topic. And so the literature can point you in that direction. It might even be that the way that you initially thought about the topic has already been explored quite a bit by established researchers, but they've given you new ways of thinking about it within a new context or among a different population. And so you may be able to use some of the raw materials in terms of replicating their research, but again, in a different population, or looking at it in a different time period or different geographical location. And so there are so many different ways that you can use the literature to help guide your investigation. But you just want to be flexible and stay open to that process. So I like the idea of a road, research being a road, and these different points along this road are opportunities for you to gain more insight, to make adjustments, to get feedback as you navigate your way toward a completed research project. But use all that's around you. Use your research mentor, use your faculty member, use the existing literature to help you narrow your topic to something that is researchable within the time frame or the constraints that you have, so that you can have a final product or an assignment that you're proud of and that you have found fascinating as you've engaged in your inquiry. And so with that, I will say thank you, and I wish you all the best of luck as you engage in your research activity.